So I say repeat what worked. Repeat what worked. So what is that for you that is your strength that needs to be repeated? What was that tool that you used with your team that made everyone efficient? Remember when you had those little 10-minute stand-up meetings every week and that got the whole team on board? What was it for you that worked? And go back and repeat that. Anybody familiar, anybody know the story of Tom Dempsey? Football player for the New Orleans Saints? Tom Dempsey held the longest field goal record for over 40 years in the NFL, 63 yards until 2 years ago. Matt Prater just broke his record. I mean, that's unheard of. But here's the unique thing about Tom Dempsey. He had half a foot. He had a club foot. And so when he was little, his parents tried golf, and he wasn't really much of a golfer. And then they tried tennis. They thought maybe he'd be a good tennis player. Wasn't much of a tennis player. Then they even tried basketball. They thought, oh, maybe basketball's the thing. Wasn't a good basketball player. But when Tom Dempsey kicked that football, they found his strength, and they repeated it, and they reinforced it, and they focused on what worked for him until he held a record in the NFL that is just unheard of. So what's your football story? What is that for you that worked? Did you network? Did you find a lot, that you were getting a lot out of the ATD chapter back when you served on a committee or volunteered for the board? But now you've just gotten too busy, you don't have time for it, and you've gotten away from it? Maybe it's time to go back to some of those things that we did early in our career that made a difference and repeat those things that worked. So what is that for you in your life? So how often do we say, I'm going to start doing X? And we forget that there's still only 24 hours in the day, folks. So we have to, if we're going to put something onto our plate, we've got to figure out what we're taking off the plate. So if you're going to start exercising 3 times a week for 30 minutes, what TV show is not getting watched? How much less Facebook is not going to happen? Are you going to bed a half an hour later? What's going to come off of that plate? But so often we just try to cram things onto the plate and it just doesn't fit, and we wonder why we're frustrated and why we don't reach our goals. It's scary, but we only have so many resources, time, and energy, right? So we have to set that time budget to make sure that we can fit that new priority into our lives, whether it's personal or whether it's professional. So to seize the start, repeat what worked, set ABC target goals, and set that time budget. Because folks, let me tell you, if you don't set your priorities, your circumstances will. If you don't set your priorities, your boss, your coworkers, the television, your family, the economy, everything else will set those priorities for you if you don't put yourself first and you don't set those priorities as number one.